here in the US, it's interesting. We don't necessarily get education on how to manage money and how to deal with money. Can you give me an idea from your experience how you manage money, what you're making and what you're spending, your goals and things of that sort? Can you give me an idea of when you came to that realization, or if you did?
Yeah, I did. I had a very concrete moment in my life, which was like right when I got my first job out of college. So prior to that, I grew up in an upper middle class household. Money was never a problem. There was never any stress because of money, but also it wasn't like my parents, I don't think, are very materialistic or whatever. It was never like a status thing either. It was basically, I never thought about money at all. And then I got my first job, and my friend who recruited me to go work at that startup, he sat me down and he was like, do you know what a 401k is? Do you know what an IRA is? And he just had me read some blog posts and kind of explained the basics of like what mutual funds are and that type of thing. Since then, I've felt like I at least have my head wrapped around it.
A couple of times you mentioned about, expensive, right? Financial advisors and whatnot. Tell me where that's coming from. What have you heard? I'd like to know.
Honestly, I don't know. I guess it's just the idea that I have in my head. Because if you ask me rates of financial advisors, I couldn't tell you. I think it's just some idea that I got a long time ago that they're very expensive, and I guess I just stuck with it. So maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. What are your thoughts on getting professional help when, it's related to your business, for example?
I do have goals and sort of plans to partner and to start a more formal, C corporation with someone. And in that case, we do plan on eventually hiring people and building out a team. And when that time comes, probably a couple of years down the road, we'll probably consult with someone and ask, what the best practices are for benefits and things like that. But the startup world is a little bit interesting because most of the perks and advantages and benefits mostly come in the form of direct pay or remote work benefits and or equity compensation. It's normally more, for higher management in more established businesses or publicly traded companies or, local business where you might find something like 401k and, all the sort of advanced things for your employees. I don't anticipate that we'll get to that stage where we'll need to do that.
Got it. Behavioral coaching. Do you know what that even means?
Well, my wife's a life and health coach. I have a personal coach. So I understand coaching, but behavior as it relates to financial decision making.
So what happens is, when the market turns the other way around, right? A lot of people freak out and they want to pull whatever their investments were. And that's where financial advisors can come in and kind of help with the behavior coaching element of it and say, listen, based on your plan, you taking this money out is going to hurt you more than really help you over the longer term, right? So making decisions based on looking at numbers and plans and then trying to take the emotions out of the equation,
Right, cool.
So that's kind of the new way. Did you hire a financial advisor? Have you had one before? What's your experience if you've had one, or what's your perception overall of that world?
Yeah, I've never hired one. My closest interaction is that my wife had one that she kind of inherited from her father, basically. She never picked this financial advisor, but everyone in the family uses it. I never did. The friend who kind of educated me on this stuff is very much in the index funds, you can't beat the market, lower your expenses mindset. So I've considered before a fee only, just a few hours of advice type of thing, but I'm not really of the mindset that having kind of a pay 1% of your net worth to a person every year forever, that doesn't fit with my approach to this.
What do you think you will value when you go back to having a financial advisor again?
Well, as it relates to what you just shared about behavioral coaching, I have definitely had what you could refer to as paper hands, right? So a coin, particularly around crypto, not so much in the equity, but, a coin gets freaking hammered and there's a lot of fear that it'll continue going, and so I sell. And I've made a few mistakes along the way. So one of the nice things about a financial advisor holding the money is it's like a step removed from me to make any sort of rash decisions, which is a nice little barrier, if you will.
I want to get your feelings on, there's something called Robo advisors where you just, open up an account like you have with Schwab and you put the money in, but there's not necessarily a human element behind it. I want to get your thoughts around, is a human important to help you guide you, or are you perfectly comfortable with just going with some sort of an automated system?
Honestly, I think it's whatever works. So if a robot is the best way to help you and it has a track record of success, I have no problem with it. I think having a human element would be beneficial, probably more expensive, but it is like a different train of thought than a robot would likely have. And I feel like there could be more potential for success or failure, whereas a robot seems like a very steady, safe route to go.
Tax rules keep changing. Seems like Congress's job is just to change tax rules every year. And advisors typically are aware of what's happening, and then they can help you communicate with you like, hey, this may affect you one way or the other, for example. What's your thoughts on that sort of value?
Many times I've decided in my life, I'd rather simplify things and pay more taxes. So for example, my business, I am paid as a W-2 employee, even though I would pay lower taxes if I used any number of shenanigans or paid myself like profit as a shareholder. There's a lot of ways I could pay lower taxes, and I decided, you know what, W-2 life is for me. It's a lot easier to file taxes. If I have to pay 5 or 10% more, I don't care. So I'm not the customer for that, but I think there are a lot of customers for that.
Why you would not approach them, or why you would approach a financial advisor? Is there some perception you have or your thoughts? Would you mind just unpacking that a little for us?
A lot of people that I interact with and learn from are very public personalities online, and they teach and share everything that they know. And they're active on Twitter, and they're active on their newsletter, they're active on their blog. And personally, I don't know a financial advisor who is like that, who I would consider like a thought leader. In general, I think that a lot of financial advisors sort of have a marketing problem, not to toot my own horn here because I'm in marketing, but it's getting harder and harder to attract people unless you have an established and active online presence, because that's ultimately how you earn the trust with people and start to build that relationship, is long before you even talk to them.
So there's different ways advisors can charge a fee. There's the one standard way that has been there, which is, we'll charge you a percent of some sort on the assets that we help manage for you, for example, right? That's normally called assets under management model. Then there is the other model, which is, hey, no, we'll just charge you a flat fee and we'll just do that, but we won't, necessarily charge you on the assets, for you. What's your thoughts between the two different models?
Really care about is year over year return. I don't really care how I pay them insofar that I'm getting the higher annual return.
But what are your thoughts of Bitcoin and crypto?
In the next couple of years, people are going to really start to see crypto come to life in its truest form of what it's meant to be, and especially in the sense of decentralized finance, so DeFi. And I think for crypto, the tokens and sort of appreciation is just the very beginning in decentralized finance, which is basically replacing a lot of the traditional financial systems and tools and infrastructure, which are centralized with companies and governments and municipalities, countries, to individuals. And so we're right on the tip of the iceberg right now. And DeFi is the future 100%. I think that it won't completely replace everything that we see today, but it'll absolutely change. And I think that it'll be the majority of how we interact with money in the future.